These 6 tips will set you up for success when using your S25 Ultra for photos and videos. This first tip is really useful in speeding up your capture times, and that's especially important when it comes to switching to the different modes. And that's using the camera shortcuts that are available with Samsung already. It's all built in, you just have to go into the widgets and use them. So nothing extra to buy, nothing extra to download. It's all there, ready to use, and very useful. So most of us already know that there's the double tap of the power button to bring up the photo or the camera, usually in photo mode. And that's a great way to speed up or get to your camera very quickly. However, when you want to go to a different mode like Pro Video, Pro Photo, Expert Raw, all these different things, you might not have that available right away. So you have to go into the camera app and move around, slide around, or even go to the more options and select from the massive list there. So how do we go about adding these shortcuts to your home screen? And it can be pretty simple actually, just it takes a couple of settings after you add it on. So bear with me on this one. The first thing is to press and hold on the home screen and then to select the widgets option. And then from there, you search for the camera and you can choose the size of the shortcut you want. Once you add the small one, it's gonna put it into an open spot. And I created a page specifically for this, for the camera modes, and I made it my main screen. That way it's always ready for me to use. So, you could either leave it where it's at or put it in a different spot. Once it's there, you're gonna tap on it because nothing's gonna happen on the first use. It's just gonna bring up the settings. And from there, you can name the widget to whatever you want. I like to name it as the actual mode that I'm gonna be using. Then you select the starting mode. So which camera, rear, front, and then which mode, photo, pro video. Save the pictures in a different folder or just in your basic camera folder, which is what I elected except for the Expert Raw, which has its own folder already. And then you can choose the widget background. So it'd be cool if you can, find a picture that goes with the mode, but you can just leave it as either the latest photo or maybe a photo that you took with the mode so you know what you're gonna be using. On my setup, I went with night mode, pro video, pro photo, and expert raw because those are the ones that are a bit tougher to get to. And I even think expert raw, you can't even put it on the bottom section where your main camera modes are, where you can actually customize it. You're kind of stuck with having it in the more section. So that's gonna be a big help on that one. Even though there already is an app for it or a shortcut for it. So you don't have to use the same mode. I just want them all to look the same. My second tip is gonna be to go with a phone case that has a magnet on it. In my case, I went with a new style, at least new to me, where it's more of a frame with a MagSafe ring around it rather than a full-on case. I thought it was cool because it would kind of keep the phone feeling somewhat similar to not having a case while still providing some protection and the functionality of a MagSafe or magnet. But one thing that I do notice about this case, or probably a couple things really, but the first thing is that it's screwed on. That's going to be great for the fact that it's going to stay on pretty much no matter what. But the problem is going to be whenever you want to take it on and off. If you're someone that takes your cases on and off a lot, that could be a bit of an issue, probably bothersome more than anything, because you literally have to unscrew 2 screws on each leg, which is good for strength, but annoying to take off. The other thing that I noticed is that the ring, whenever you do add a MagSafe accessory to it, it does have a little bit of play in the beginning, or it's not really play, it's just softer than a little bit further up. So what happens is, let's say you're hanging it on a MagSafe accessory, you could have a little bit of a lift here, like you see, which could be easily counteracted by making sure that the hinge is on top with the opening in the bottom. That way the pressure is always going downward. But it could be a bit annoying if you switch or change the orientation on your phone a lot. Now, when it comes to getting a case or accessory like this with a magnet on it, I suggest going as high as you can in terms of quality, or usually that means price. Of course, there's going to be some situations when the price does not, they're just charging a lot, but it's not actually good quality. But the reason I say this is because, especially with MagSafe, mainly that's the reason. The magnet or the metal can sometimes interfere with the wireless charging, and other times it could just be super weak and barely stick on to the magnet accessory. So I think it's really important, if you're gonna go MagSafe, get a good case, not just a $10 one that happens to have MagSafe on it. All right, guys, it's that time again. If you're finding any value in this video, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe. And if you're interested in buying any of the products that you see in this video, I do have affiliate links in the description below. Thanks, and let's keep going. So the next tip is gonna be to get yourself a good tripod. Good could be a bit subjective. There are objective ways of measuring this, but it's really more of what you need for the job you're trying to get done. The main benefits of a tripod are gonna come in handy when you're trying to get low light photos or something very steady. Because when you lower the shutter speed past a certain point, depending on the camera and what kind of stabilization it has, it could be a bit lower than some others. You're gonna introduce some shake and blurriness without intending to. And if you want to get a low ISO and long exposure night shot to get a very crisp picture, you're gonna need a good tripod accessory. I went out and I bought the K&F MS19, and it has its good points and its bad points. One, it has the MagSafe attachment, so it's gonna make it very easy to plop on and off. And it's very quick to lift up and lower. But the limitation is gonna be once you pass about halfway, the wobble is gonna be very noticeable on a windy day. You could use it all the way extended in a studio environment when there's no wind or anything that's gonna move it around. But when you're outdoors, you can't control that, and it's gonna likely move around. So this one, just limit it to halfway and it's gonna be great. One thing that I noticed, and I'm glad I noticed it while making the video, while buying all these different items that I wanted and trying them all together, not everything was compatible with each other. So MagSafe, could bring in some limitations in terms of some attachments for the lenses because it kind of will clash with it. But other than that, if you're not gonna use any of those attachments, like for night photos, probably don't need those attachments, it's not gonna be a problem. Now, of course, if you want a more stable tripod, you're gonna have to go bigger because that's kind of one thing. The bigger you go, the better the tripod is gonna perform. And you can kind of see that with just watching videos. You'll see the professionals that have like these massive tripods, and then the photographers might have smaller ones, but are still way bigger than the ones you would normally use for a phone. And so just think about what you need the tripod for, what kind of scenarios you're gonna put it into, and then you can kind of decide which one is the right one for you. Another tip is gonna be to get yourself a Pop Socket type accessory. I think the Pop Socket might actually be one of the better ones, but there are different ones that are somewhat similar that could provide the same benefit. I went with a different style, so this is more of a strap where you can slide your finger in to hold it, and actually it works pretty well. The added benefit of this one is that it can be adjusted to hold your phone up, and it's actually very sturdy. It can hold your phone up pretty easily, and it doesn't move at all. It's actually really good. This can actually be used to act like a tripod when you're really low to the ground, get a low to the ground shot. So it has a couple of cool benefits to it. I think the Pop Socket might be a little bit better in terms of holding it because it lets you just grab it a bit easier. Sometimes I have to fight with it to get my finger in place. But yeah, once it's in there, I have a good grip on it. It's not gonna go anywhere, and it's not adding a crazy amount of dexterity to my finger on the screen, but it does make me feel very secure for one-handing the camera or the phone while using the camera. Now, I do consider this one to be a good pickup because of the added benefit of being able to use it as a low tripod. And my case has that ability already, but this one's even better because it keeps the phone a bit off the ground and lets you change the angle a bit better. So this is a really good one. All right, so for this next one, I guess it could be considered a little bit funny, especially since we're talking about the S25 Ultra or Samsung's Ultra lineup. And that's gonna be that I recommend you get a Bluetooth shutter button. Now, it's not gonna be something they're gonna use all the time because it's not something that is required for everything you do. But if you're gonna take either a picture of yourself, picture of your family with you in it, that helps. And if you're gonna take a low light photo, that also helps because if you don't have a remote way of starting the shutter, then you have to put a timer. That way, when you tap on it, there's time for the wobble on the tripod to go away. So it's definitely a bit of a must if you're gonna do low light photography or anything on a tripod that requires it to be still, because you don't want to introduce any shake or wobble when you're taking the photo. So it's just kind of funny because, yeah, the S25 Ultra, of course, it has the S Pen, but they took out the Bluetooth functionality, so no longer works as a shutter button. But either way, I mean, shutter buttons are, the Bluetooth ones are, I don't know, 15 bucks, 10 bucks. And in my case, I already got it with the KNF tripod because it comes with the shutter button as well, Bluetooth. The next thing that I would recommend you get is a good set of filters. So there are different filters for different things. There's I think a CFL filter, which blocks out reflections when you're taking a photo of car windows, building windows. Should apply to water as well. So kind of like polarized glasses for your camera, basically. And that's gonna help to reduce the unwanted glare in your photos. And that's a big one. That's one that I will say separates the professional looking photos from the amateur looking ones, just that small filter. Next will be the ND filter, which is going to be very important for bright scenarios. Specifically, when you're recording video at 24 frames per second, that's a very low shutter speed that it requires, 1/50, 1/48. And so that's going to bring in a lot of light, or let a lot of light come in, which is great for low light and different things like that. But when you're in broad daylight, you're going to blow out everything in that picture. So the ND filter is going to basically act like sunglasses and reduce the amount of light that's going to come into the sensor with those settings. So with those settings is important because it helps it to look more professional and less digital, which is what a lot of people say phone footage looks like. And then also, if you're taking photos, it can also help with long exposures during the day because you're going to have to block out a lot of light to get a long exposure. So plenty of benefits to these filters. I got one here from Newer, which is a clip-on one, but besides the clip-on one, it's also magnetic. So you can actually plop this one out and you can see that it has a pretty big opening. So it fits all the lenses. And this is on top of that case that I was showed you earlier. So it does work with some cases. Obviously, it could probably be a bit hit or miss in terms of fitting with all cases, but it looks like it'll fit with quite a few of them. And this ND filter is variable, so instead of having a whole set of different filters where you have to take off and put on for what you need, you could just twist it here to change how much light comes in. Plus there is a cold shoe mount here, so if you want to add a light for whatever reason, maybe portrait studio photography or something, that could be helpful too. So it's just a really good accessory, and of course that will be in the description. But just having that in there, regardless of which one you get, is going to help you to get a better set of photos and videos. Thanks for watching. If you have any topics you want covered, let me know in the comments. And with enough likes and similar requests, I might actually get to it. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.